had struggled for 10 years trying to feel better, lose weight, feel like my old self. And I had heard that a lot of people were having success, and I didn't know much about it, but I wanted to know more.
Obesity is a common, serious, and costly chronic disease that continues to increase in the United States. It is putting a strain on families, overall health, healthcare costs, productivity, and much more. Obesity can lead to heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and other serious conditions. Many factors can contribute to excess weight gain, including eating patterns, physical activity levels, and sleep routines. But one of the more interesting factors that is being isolated as a major factor in weight gain is identified as social determinants of health. The CDC describes this as the conditions in which people are born, grow, work, live, and age, and the wider sets of forces and systems shaping the conditions of daily life.
I came to the office, I got my blood work, and they were able to determine that I was insulin resistant through my blood work, and that might have been one of the reasons I was struggling, being able to lose the weight no matter what I was doing. I could not drop 1 pound. I just kept gaining a pound here and a pound there, and eventually it was over 40 pounds that I had gained over the years, and I was just needing help, and that's what I wanted to try.
And so is that why they recommended semaglutide for your process, because of those issues that you were experiencing?
I had a lot of reds in my blood work. I always felt swollen, I was inflamed, and my glucose levels were high, even at resting levels. So we knew it was a sugar problem and regulating my sugar problem. No, I did not have diabetes. The insurance companies will not pay for it unless you actually have diabetes, but there is a pre-diabetic level that people struggle at, and a lot of people struggle at, and that's where I was. So I think my body was addicted to sugar without realizing it, and my blood work showed it. So the most important gauge is seeing what your blood work shows. And once we determined that I would be a good candidate, I said, sign me up.
What had you done previously? What were some of the other things that you tried that were unsuccessful for you?
I had tried keto. I had tried different avenues of caloric restrictions. I have tried exercise. I've joined Crunch. I've joined Planet Fitness. I walked with friends. No matter what I tried, calorie restricted would work for me for maybe a few weeks, but the habits just were there. They were underneath, and I would just go to stressful eating because that's how I handled it, or stressful drinking because that's how I handled it. And it, without recognizing what my body was craving, which was that underlying sugar, I just would be okay for a few weeks, but then I'd go out to eat. I'd go out with my friends. And it just never was anything that allowed me to stay consistently on track with my weight loss goals, because after a couple weeks, I'd find something stressful that affected me, and I'd go back to bad eating, or I'd go out with my friends, and recognized that it was just like this loop I was in. I couldn't maintain my stress level. I couldn't maintain my diet. As much as I am educated about healthcare and healthy living, I actually went to school as a food science and human nutrition major. I know everything I thought that I needed, but it still didn't prevent me from wanting to, I believe, handle all my stressful situations in the wrong way, whether it's, food, alcohol, whatever. I just kept falling back into bad habits. Then I would give up on myself. I'd be like, okay, well, I guess that doesn't work. And then I'd fall back into not trying anymore. It just it was a mental thing too. I just kept not trying. I kept getting frustrated with myself, and it felt hopeless.
There is an increasing emphasis on the importance of collaboration, companionship, and coaching in self-improvement programs. Studies have shown that personal improvement platforms are more likely to succeed if a certain level of companionship and coaching is available.
What was support like at home for you to start this process? Do you feel like that was a big factor in getting this going?
Absolutely. My family, we are all very supportive of each other, and they knew that I was just very frustrated. So they were very excited for me to have something new to try, and they knew how bad I wanted to feel better, and that was my end goal. So I was very supportive at home. Whatever you need, yes.
And there's studies that have shown that having a companionship role in a process is important. What about this process provided that aspect for you?
Absolutely. So from the minute I got my first appointment, I was reviewed and educated on my blood work, where I'm at, and then we set goals together of where do I want to be, and it just helped me with a starting point. It was hard to see that starting point because the thing that tipped the scales for me is I had hit 200 pounds. And in my life, I never would have thought that. I wasn't even fully 9 months pregnant. I was not 200 pounds. 185 was the highest I was at 9 months pregnant. So I knew it was very important, or this was just going to continue to be a struggle for me. I was about to turn 50 the next year, so I went into this journey at 49 years old, and I said, I do not want to feel like what I felt like in my 40s anymore. It's kind of like you just had a point that it was your breaking point. 200 pounds was that for me. So when I met them, I was held accountable to the scale, because when you gain a lot of weight, you avoid the scale because you don't want to even look at it, because it forces you to acknowledge your bad habits have led to this. And these were my choices. It was how I was dealing with stress. And I just didn't want to deal with life like that anymore. I needed to hold myself accountable. So coming to the office, getting the blood work, having the doctor or the physician assistant always there for you once a week, because this program does work if you hold yourself accountable weekly, because you have somebody to discuss it with, but also having, at least for the first month or two, a nutritional support coach. I had one with this program, and she helped me identify good and bad choices. So for the first couple of months, my cravings were still very real. They were there because you start at such a low dose with semaglutide, because they need time to make sure your body reacts to it okay. Not everybody's going to be a candidate for it, so they start you out really low to make sure that your body's okay with it. And then the health coach, the PA, the doctor, they all kind of talk you through better choices. But the health coach that I had, I could literally talk to her and say, I would like to have this in the mornings for my breakfast. And she would show me and teach me how much sodium it had, or what kind of ingredients it had that I should be aware of, that I should be avoiding in this process. So I just learned a lot more about food and the choices I made, and I had somebody tell me yes or no. And that really helped.
You know, you mentioned in there about starting out at a lower dose. I know one thing on people's minds when they're choosing something like this. What are the side effects? Did you notice any for yourself?
So again, I was used to eating bad. I had developed terrible bad habits like greasy food, potato chips. That was I love potato chips, Snicker bar, things like that. So when you start out with semaglutide, you do recognize and start feeling, which I've never had before. Even at my highest weight, I've never had acid reflux. And you do start noticing if you eat the bad things, your body responds to it with upset stomach, nausea, acid reflux. Those were the things that got me in the beginning. But what I recognized was even as I titrated up into the higher doses, if I was avoiding the foods that led to the acid reflux, I wasn't getting it. So they do help you by giving you like an anti-nausea pill if you feel bad. But I would say your body feeling bad is telling you what you're eating is bad for you.
Right.
It's not the semaglutide that does it. It's the decisions you're making while you're on something that makes you feel bad. So I just turned away from that stuff, and then all my bad symptoms went away. I was eating cleaner, I was feeling better, and all that stuff kind of subsided. So I believe semaglutide, for me, helped trigger bad responses if I ate bad. So within the first couple of months, I learned to stay away from the foods I needed to stay away from, and everything went good from there.
Joining the battle to help patients with weight loss, Access IPC is a virtual primary medical care provider that offers in-person care to patients living in the Orlando area. Weight loss and other proactive medical care programs are its specialty.
So how long did it take you to get where you wanted to be?
So learning through the program with my doctor's office and with my health coach, a healthy weight loss in this program for me was about 5 pounds a month. In order to be able to maintain the weight loss, I didn't want to lose it super quickly. As expensive as people say the program is, it was worth it to know that if I just maintained that 5 pounds a month and I could see it on the scale, and I'm holding myself accountable by going to my weekly check-ins, I felt good, and it took me about 8 months. So I went on the program September of 2022, and my 50th birthday was May 4th, and I reached my goal by my 50th birthday. So that was my goal. By my 50th birthday, I was back to my old self of when I was 40. Because in about 10 years, I gained 40 pounds. I call them stress pounds, but that's the reality of it. It's a tough age. In your 40s. And so I said no more in my 50s. So about 8 months.
You mentioned in there that, the costs of it.
Yes.
But by changing your habits and things like that, were there other lifestyle changes that offset that cost? What else?
Absolutely. I made a conscious decision to give my body a break from going out, eating out, and everything I did was surrounded around my goal to, I feel like goal-oriented weight loss is super helpful. So just seeing every month's progress and knowing, for me, when I hit 50, I wanted to feel better. So every month, if I wasn't going out, technically I was probably eating out 2 or 3 times a week with my family or my husband or my friends. That all went away. I feel like for 8 months I was selfish and just stayed within myself and within my restrictions that I had set for myself. So for about an 8-month period, I just stayed focused on coming home, clean eating, shopping the day of for what I was, or the day before, or the Sunday before for the first few days. Just always having the right things at home, but definitely going out saves you at least $100 a week. So I looked at it as cost neutral because the program's around $400 or $500 a month, and I was definitely saving that just by not going out.
Yeah, and you mentioned that you had learned through this process not to eat certain foods. I'm guessing that many people, regardless of knowing the costs or the types of things that they run into at restaurants, are still going to want to go out. Like, it's just part of
Right.
being social. So now when you go out to restaurants, what's different?
I don't drink. I've made that decision. That makes me feel so much better. Saves a lot of money. I just don't want the fried foods and I don't want the dessert at the end. And I look at the menu differently and I just get whatever I want that's a healthy choice. And I honestly don't want anything bad anymore. It is a long enough period of time because it's progressively happening throughout the stay on the semaglutide. The desires go away, the cravings go away, and now you're just eating because it's time to eat. You're not eating socially, and I don't know. I just didn't, it took so many cravings away. I just didn't crave it. And now my body, I feel, likes me for it. And I've adapted to, last night I went to the porch with my husband and I had a grilled chicken salad and some cauliflower bites. And that was enough for me. That was it. We went home.
What is maintaining? I mean, you put all this work and all this effort into it. It sounds like you have some long-term results from this. But what does maintaining this process look like after you've gone through the protocols?
I just feel over the last year that my body has developed the good habits that lead me to success. I do still check in with my office, and they have what we've decided is to keep checking my blood work, because so once every 4 to 6 months I get my blood work checked by my primary, whom my primary office is the one that offers the semaglutide, and then we can see, again, it's a visual that you can see that your body's still doing good. At my year of weight loss and the program being finished, I did my blood work and everything was green, and it was amazing, and I felt so good. So now what I've talked to at my provider's office is, if I feel like my body is starting to maybe crave things again, what could I do? And they actually suggested I could keep a bottle and maybe once a month do a maintenance dose. That's something that I'm discussing with them to see. But I really feel like the long term of it, I've learned how to eat better, and feeling better is just the drive that keeps me centered on the next 10 years of my 50s being healthy and feeling good. And if I could say one thing, the weight loss has been fabulous, but the amount of energy that I now have, the lack of inflammation, and that is a big word these days. I just felt bloated, swollen, and I'm happier. I'm less irritated. I'm still April in my core, so I still have my personality, but I feel better, and everybody around me feels better. That's why my household feels better. And every good habit that I've picked up, my family's picked up. My kids are recognizing how important healthy eating is. My kids are recognizing how important not drinking soda is. They see it. My husband feels better because we're cooking better. We're eating out less. It's been a great dynamic to see throughout my entire house. You feel better, it's contagious, and other people want to feel better too.